Merry Christmas, YouTube audience. Bonsai Whisperer here. For me, there seems to be no better way to celebrate Christmas than transforming a widely available living Christmas tree into a bonsai. So this is an Italian stone pine, and I got it from a local supermarket, Fred Meyer, for $6.99. I think this is a extremely good tree. It's probably stayed in the supermarket indoor for a little bit while, so the tree may think this is spring and it's starting to bud out all over the places. So I just got this tree and would like to work on it, and for the rest of the season I may keep it indoor or semi-indoor to avoid any cold. So Italian stone pine is, as its name indicates, it's a Mediterranean species. I think within pines, it's not the most cold tolerant ones. From the tag, they told us to bring the tree in when the temperature dropped below 15 degree Fahrenheit. And so I have a Mugo pine which is cold tolerant to minus 40 degree Fahrenheit, which is interestingly also 40 degrees C, minus 40 degrees C. So this is not as cold tolerant as that tree. So you find a lot of these trees in California, and it just grows naturally into an umbrella form. It can grow very tall. It's probably one of the only species that grow naturally into an umbrella form, so it's also called umbrella pine. So of course I'm going to take all the ornaments out of the tree and take the tree out of the pot and examine the root system. So this is probably a good toy for the cat. And the other thing is, I don't know if in the video it's clear or not, but the foliage is kind of bluish, which I really like blue foliage. So it's inexpensive and it's growing very nicely. There are several rows of this little pine tree sitting in Fred Meyer for $6.99. So I just looked through them and picked the best one. So you can see the foliage are very, very soft, so it's very easy to bend. I'm going to take the name tag off. Also, I'm going to take this thing off the ribbon. I may save it for later use. Also taking the wrap off. Okay. It's in a pretty standard pot. The drainage should be pretty good. The stone pine is very drought tolerant, so you don't need to water it too much. Only water it when you feel the soil is relatively dry. So I'm going to take it out and examine the root system. The tree looks very healthy. I hope the root is good too. It's budding out all over. Massaging the root, the pot, so that hopefully it's easier to take out. Ooh. So the reason why we need to take it out of the pot first is we need to examine where the tree actually starts, because in nursery plants they are normally planted very deep. The tree, the root, the surface roots or the root base is where the bonsai start. So if your root base is an inch under the soil and you don't know where the bonsai start yet. Okay, it's a really loose soil, so it may be just recently put it into this pot. Very loose soil, and I also see a little bit of fertilizer in there. So if you look at this, oh, that's not a fertilizer. Okay, this green thing on my finger is a fertilizer that the grower put into it. Okay, wow, the root system is still very loose. And it's a peat-based soil, very loose root system. It may be put into this pot not too long ago, so it's very easy to find the root base. Okay, wow. There is a big tap roots here. There's one side of it almost have no root. That's very interesting. It may be recently put into this pot. So to do it more thoroughly, I may use a root rake to rake out the soil. You can see some roots start growing. These white tips are the growing roots. Don't know if it's easy to see. That means it's really has been put in a warm environment for a while, so the roots already start growing. So normally when the root is growing, it's not the best time to repot. But I always do a lot of practice. That's not always the best. The whole idea is because I use all these inexpensive plants for practice. I don't really need to be too careful, which is because this is not a $1,000 plant. So I don't need to follow all the most cautious practice. Very peaty soil. An interesting root base where one end you have plenty of roots on this side. On this side you almost have no root. That's very interesting. I wonder why it's the case. I wonder if this is a graft onto a rootstock, and then they plant this thing, too deep in the soil, and the original graft started growing roots out of the grafting point. Examine it doesn't have too big of a tap root. If that's the case, we can choose this as the front, but we could also choose the original rootstock where that starts to have root as the front. It's a very strange situation where this side, naturally, you almost don't see any roots, and on that side, you see a lot of root coming out. I want to tease it a little bit more so that I see what's actually inside the root system. The tree is very, very healthy, so I'm not too worried about it. About teasing too much of the root system. I believe it's healthy enough to survive. This seems to be a cutting, which is very strange. I've always thought that a pine tree is not going to grow from a cutting, because this seems to be a very flat and very sudden stop of the root. Normally you get all these tap roots growing out, but here it suddenly stopped. It just looked like a branch that's stuck in the soil and start growing roots. So the other possibility is this is a cutting, and because it's a cutting, it grows anywhere the bark is scraped. So that may be why this looks like this. However, we do need to decide on a root base. So I think the most of the roots come out relatively flat on the bottom, and the top roots would be all too high. And of course, the root base is very important in deciding the front and the back of the tree. Since this side has almost no roots come out, it's probably not very good. This side has almost no root come out. It may not be the best side to be a front, so I may need to use this side as the front, and I may need to get rid of all these roots that come out from the from this side, because it's very high compared of the rest of the root plane. So I'm just going to start eliminating some roots until maybe I feel it's eliminating too much. That's plenty of root. Most of the roots is come out of the bottom, so I do think I can eliminate the top roots. So I'm cutting off the roots that come out above the root plane, where most of the roots come out from. I feel that this tree was recently put into a larger container for sale. So a lot of the roots, they are very entangled. And they seem to grow around a certain direction. I just need to sort them out. There may be a graft here. Let's see. Or this may be a knob. Oh, it's interesting. Normally, I would not think of pine tree as a species that can be grow from a cutting, but it seems to me this looks like a cutting. And because they chop a branch off somewhere on a big tree, and the lower, like these secondary branches, there was probably some shoot come out from here, and they probably need to cut off the shoot, and wherever there is an opening, there is a cut, and when you stuck it into the soil, there may be roots that would grow out. So I think this was where the the tree was cut. The branch was cut, and then there are some secondary branch. There was some secondary branch grew out from here. And then they stuck the whole thing into the soil, and then roots grow out from these points. This is my theory on this. This is the root base. Some roots are still a little bit high, but it's okay. Can cut this root a little bit. There was some branch came out from here. That's why here may be a bulge forming on here. We would need to avoid this bulge. This bulge was what is what made me think this was a cutting. But it could be also there was some branches coming out which form this bulge here. But I don't think it's too important at this point. In the future, when this tree got more established, what I can do is I can use a cutter to cut these two bulges off into the trunk a little bit so that it can heal. Looks like the most wide base is here. It would not be, this would not be the front because not much root come out from here. Although may not be true because it also flare out in the future when the roots come from here. But it may be easier to see from the bottom. Like there's no root come out from this end, and a lot of abundant roots come out from the other side. So based on the root base that spread out the most, I would naturally think this would be a good front. This would be a better front. But this side, we don't have too much branches come out from this side. That's the problem of this side. While this side, the branches, these long branches seem very interesting. And I also need to see what direction this tree is good in. Okay. This bulge, I would need to deal with it later. This inverse taper here, I would need to deal with it later because this roots growing from here, and also there might be a branch here at some point. So that's the reason why there is a bulge. I don't think it's too serious. Over time, it's probably going to become better, unless this is a graft on a different root stock. Then the bulge may get worse over time, but it's okay. And now I would like to clean the tree a little bit. You can see a lot of these tiny needles come out from the trunk, even like this tree is in, I think it's very healthy, because you can see a lot of these little this is actually forming new buds, little buds that's come out from very close to the trunk. So this is actually a new bud forming very close to the trunk, but because it's so close to the trunk, we cannot possibly make use of it. So I'm just going to get rid of it right now. Too close to the trunk, and we are unable to use these. So I'm going to clean some of the lower branches and some of the sprout out from immediately close to the trunk, so that we can see the trunk line better, because in a bonsai it's very important to have a good root base, a good and then a very important thing would be a good trunk line. So we would need to see the root base and see the trunk line. The other possibility is the line is more interesting on this side, because it grows this way and then come back. And if you simply twist it a little bit more, it could give you a nice line. So I'm just going to continue to clean these needles and new shoots coming out of the base, so that we can see the trunk a little bit better. And after we see the trunk line, it would help us decide where to. So now, after we tease the root, the second step would be to decide on the front, which is the front and which is the back of a bonsai. So almost every bonsai has a front and a back. Although if you are very advanced in doing bonsai, sometimes people can make bonsai that looks good in all fronts, which is also good. But I feel that it's for novice, it's easier to decide on a front and just try which is the viewing direction. You view when you display a you are trying to show off your bonsai and you display it, you put the front, you show people the front, and that would be the most beautiful angle of a bonsai. It's almost like when you do a selfie, some people know on which angle they look the best. That's like the front of the bonsai. So to decide the front, we need a nice root base. The best thing would be it naturally spread out. That would be the sign of a nice root base, and also a interesting trunk line. It has some movement, has some natural curvature to the tree. So this side is the side that we don't have much roots there. This root, I was trying to save it. I can still try to save it. I can. It would just be a more exposed root. but I could also cut it off, because this root, probably when it was in a smaller pot, it kind of entangled. Naturally, it entangled this way. So I'm trying to save it by moving it back. But depends on where the root plane is. I may remove it entirely, but let's keep it at this time, because this is the first root pruning. I don't want to be too drastic, like last time when I pruned the Norfolk Island pine, which is I feel that it's a little bit too drastic. But I feel there are some dead roots there. These black roots, why the tree looks so healthy, but these roots look dead? That's very strange. That's strange, huh? We still have some living roots. I hope the tree is healthy enough to survive the I don't know how the foliage looks so healthy, and the root just, so every tree has some interesting problems. This tree, the problem is these roots, some of the roots look very soft and black, which, if I'm not wrong, seems to be dead roots. I hope they are not dead roots. And also, the root system is very one-sided. So since I feel that I saw some dead roots, I would like to keep as much root as possible to this tree. Of course, I'm not picking this as the front because no root come out here. I probably put some sphagnum moss on this side to encourage some growth here. And now, I feel this would be a good front. So when you decided on a front, I would need to cut off the branches that's blocking the front. For example, this branch is right in front of the trunk line. I'm going to cut off. And then some, but that's really too close to the trunk. There's this back branch, which is okay. We don't need that much. That's look very congested here, so we can get rid of some of the needles. Get rid of some of the sprouts that's too close to the trunk line. leaves yet. In the future, it may bud back and all. It's probably very readily bud back from the old branch because you literally see the branches all over the places. So the other thing that's very interesting to this tree, it seems like it's budding out from very good places. You don't see a lot of branches that just come out from the same place, so you don't actually need too much clean up. What I mean is, in a lot of pine tree, you got this come out, you would get 5 or 6 branches come out from the same place, which in the long run, it's going to create a bulge at these places. But this tree, you can see it's not really coming out from the same place. This and this is coming out relatively close, but if you look closely, this is lower than this one, so they are not exactly coming out from the same place. So it make the bulging problem or the possibility of creating an inverse taper less serious, which is a pretty good quality. So I think this would be the clean up I need to do. The next step would be to create some movement to the trunk. So I'm going to put this down first, and I'm going to get a relatively thick wire. Okay, this is a 3mm wire to wire the trunk and try to bend the trunk a little bit to create some movement to the tree. So I simply need something that's a little bit longer than the trunk. That should be enough. Okay, and then I'm going to use the wire cutter to cut this. May not be, this may or may not be strong enough, so I may or may not need to do like double, so it's about the same height as the tree. I may need to do double okay, so the wire will need to go into the soil to anchor the tree. So I'm just going to do this, and if this is the front, then I probably do it on this direction, but really it doesn't matter. It's easier for me to twist the tree on this side. So I'm just going to twist it around around the tree. Okay, so now the tree looks like this. This have a natural movement there, so I'm not going to. I can try to twist this more, but that doesn't necessarily have to be twist more. And then I would try to bend this side back. To create a curvature. Okay, looks like some curvature there. This is very gentle. It is the more towards the top of the tree, it is easier to bend. The more easy to bend. So the last bend would be here. Okay. So this is about how much. Doesn't seem like too much bending. So what I can do here is to put in the second. So just let it sit for a little bit. That would help the curvature to set in. But what I can do is to put in a second wire to help it bend more. I could use 3 again, but I'm kind of short in 3 now, so I'm using a second wire that's 2.5, which is still pretty similar. So this time what I can do is give it a longer, because I find that it's a little bit short, the 3. Okay. So I'm going to put this in and go along the same line as the 3mm. Just wrap around the trunk with the same curve. So we can still clean up the top a little bit. Just do not pluck out the shoots, but I can still clean up the top a little bit. Just clean up the old needles. Okay, this way may be able to bend it a little bit more. Let's see. I saw a video calling bending the tree. You need to kind of massage it. I guess we can try. You also need to listen, because the tree could break. You need to stop when you hear it stop breaking. So when I bend the trunk, I probably stay silent and see if you can hear a break. When it breaks, you should stop. Okay, have a little bit more movement there, I think. So the first time you bend it, you would want to be as drastic as possible, because when the tree grow up, it's going to grow straight again. So you are not going to have the same effect as the time you first bend it. It's not going to be as drastic. Okay. Okay, also very conveniently, the branches are shorter. On one side compared to the other side. So it's relatively convenient. To have the whole tree move to one direction. Okay. I think we can bend it a little bit more. I'm not hearing any breakage yet. Okay, I start to hear a tiny sound of breakage, so I should stop there. And this, I can bring it back a little bit more. Here. And then we can bring it forward. So this would be the trunk line for now, and this would be the front. Now we will need to set branches. When we see the curvature, we would be able to see how the branch would go after that. So this branch is okay. We need to wire the branches now. So the trunk is wired. Now we need to wire the branches. So this is pretty nice little first branch. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to clean up these needles. Just pluck the needles. And save all the little butts. Okay. So I probably wired these two branches together. One of these, this one is relatively tiny branch, so I would need to be careful. Oh, there is a back branch here, so I can wire these two together. And you can see there are two branches coming out in the same point. So to keep the proportion, I may just get rid of the thicker branch. And keep this small branch. For now, I will just get rid of the small branch instead, because I need something thick to wire. This is a back branch, which is fine. The branch that are too close to the trunk, I'm going to remove. Okay. I'm going to wire these two branches together. I will only wire it to where there is wood. So this green piece, I cannot wire it. So for these, I just need very thin wires. I have some 1mm wire there. I suspect it's going to be able to do it. So one way to look at whether the wire would hold the branch would be to touch the branch with the wire, and you can see if the wire can bend the branch, then that means it's going to be okay. Okay, so I think that it's rather surprising, but seems the 1mm would work. Okay, so I'm just going to wire it. So here it's kind of trapping some needles. I'm going to get rid of the needles. So that it doesn't trap the needles. Okay. I'm just going to get rid of some of the needles so that I can wire it easily. I'm just not going to trap the butts. The needles would be fine. Okay. This is one branch. Wire two branch together so that one branch can act as the anchor, as Peter Chan always teach, two branch principle. So this two is wired, so this would be an important branch. It's probably the first branch that come out. And I want to find a branch that's about the same thickness so that you can wire them together. I feel that this is a thick branch. It's a back branch here. I can wire this two together, or I can wire this two together. These two are more similar. These two are more similar, so I'm going to wire this branch and this branch together. Also, I need to decide on what to use. The stone, this thing, oh, the 1mm is not going to work. This is still a little bit too thin. This may be a little bit thicker. Okay, I think this is going to work. So this would work on this one too. So just touching the branch with the wire, which So when the wire can bend the branch, that means it's going to hold. So I probably need a relatively long one. So I'm going to finish all the wiring before I start to place the branches, because you can see it's the tree is lying down and all the time, and if I just style it now, and when it lie down, it's going to change the shape. So I'm not going to do that. A lot of times we are bending the branch down. So when this happened, we will want the wire to enter the branch from the top, so that we can bend the branch down easily. And we don't want the branch to trap the buds. So we need to avoid all the buds if it's possible. But there are also, of course, everything has exception. I'm just getting rid of the old needles on the branches. Okay, so it's entered the realm of the soft thing, the soft branches, so I may need to be more careful. Okay. So take this off. So today I probably am just going to wire the secondary branches. The primary branches, I'm not going to wire the secondary branches because they are still too small. A lot of them are still little buds. So I'm not going to wire those. One thing I love this pine tree is it's so soft. The branches are just so soft, and it's going to be very, very easy to bend. It's still a very young tree. Okay. So, 2 more branches, and I'm going to wire this branch and this branch together, these 2 branches. Let me see if this would still work. for the top, of course, it doesn't work. I need to get it up a little bit more. Probably, let's see. This is going to work. This branch is big, so it may not work still, but I think it's going to work. For most part, the very beginning of the branch may be too big to wire, but I think for the most part it's going to work. Okay, wire these two branches together is the goal. So I don't need to wire too much, because in the end I probably need to take off some of the branches. I'm probably not going to use the full length. So I'm coming from the top. Still need to get rid of some of the needles to allow some way for the wires. The wire is probably too hard for the tip of the needle, so I may just need to stop earlier before it gets to the tip. For the woody part, the wire is good, but for the tip of the needle, it's a little bit too hard. It may damage the tip, but I may also just remove the wire before it reaches the tip. So hopefully it's fine. Hopefully. Okay, this is another wire, and now the roots are still wet, so I hope it's fine. Okay, after we decide on where the curve are, some of the branches are not necessary. For example, this branch is so normally a rule of thumb is the branch should come out at place where it's bending outward, so the the branches that come out from places where it's bending inward can be removed like that. And also we could clean this out a little bit more. With the concave cutter. So that when it heals flush. Okay. So now we have less branches. These are fine. Back branch. So I'm just going to continue to wire this and this together, this and this together. Okay. Meanwhile, I probably need to get the, let's see. I don't think the roots are too dry yet. If you are working it for a very long time and you worry about the root drying out, you probably need to spray the roots once in a while. But I don't think it's too dry right now, so I'm just going to continue wire the branches in pair and see where it goes. So we have, I think the rest of the branches would be fine to wire with this maybe 1.5 millimeter. So I think this one is coming out from the front. It's going this direction. It's not really necessary. This branch I can remove. I can cut into it a little bit more. So that it will heal nicely in the future. Now, I can wire these two together, and the apex and this side branch together. That would be nice. So I'm just going to pluck some of the needles. I think this pine is probably need to stay indoor. It's staying indoor anyway in the supermarket, so I always do too much. In the depth of the winter, it's probably a very bad time to do that much work, but if I wire these two together, oh, wow, there are more branches than I expected. Okay. Okay, I'm simply wiring this branch. I'm seriously considering maybe I should just fast forward this wiring part because it seems so boring. Okay, 2 more. I'm just making it, wiring it for function. I'm not really wiring it to look good. So a lot of the wiring is probably not the best practice of all time. For example, a good wiring should follow the secondary wire should follow the main, the wire of the main trunk, but I'm not following it in a lot of the places because I'm not really planning it well. I'm going to show you what I'm talking about. So this one, so I'm going this way without following this main structural, this main wire. Ideally, I should in fact try to follow it. For example, this one actually follow this one, may. So this small thing follows the big wire, which is better to hide the wire. But I'm not worrying that too much right now, so I'm just going to quickly continue to wire and until I finish, which I almost finished. I'm almost done with the wiring. Okay, two more. That's this branch and the apex. Then I'm done wiring. I will be done pretty soon. Oh, it's too long. Definitely too long. And the wire is also very too stiff for the branches. I really don't have to use that stiff of a wire. But pinch the needle. Okay, I'm done wiring. This is definitely not a perfect wiring job, but it should hold the branches. Okay, now we go back to the front. I'll probably place the on this side, and I'm just trying to start the pine branches could be very the movement could be very nice. So generally, the branch are going to hang downward, but also have some major movements. I'm just going to distribute the branches and also put in some movements. I think the branch would need to move up and down as well as a general downward movement, because in a big tree the gravity kind of pull the branches down, but in a small tree like a bonsai, of course you do not have the gravity. You do not have that much gravity to pull it down. So, and just for now, I'm going to temporarily get rid of the upward and downward hanging branches. Hopefully in the future it's going to bud back. So, I'm holding this thing down. I can cut some of the tip off. It's probably a little bit too long. Okay, if it's going this way, this is almost forming a cascade branch. the pine could form these very, very twisted branches. So I'm twisting them. They are very, very flexible now, so I can almost do anything I want at this point. Okay. I think I'm going to make it, trying to distribute all the branches. I'm probably doing it very carelessly, but I hope, since this is a young tree, I hope it's going to survive. Okay, back branch. Okay, come back to the front and see how is this back branch doing. I think the back branch is going to do well. So I'm distributing all these branches around the tree. So that it can get sunlight equally. Also, these candles, the tip of the branch, I try to make them face upward so that it can get the maximum amount of sunlight. Okay, so the tree now looks like this. I'm going to proceed to pot it first because I'm afraid that it's going to dry out over time. So I'm going to pot it in this pot. I'm probably going to use some of the original soil plus some of the new soil because I think there may be some beneficial fungi that's in the original soil. I don't want to, but I think the roots, no, I probably would not use the original soil because I saw some fertilizer right after the root work. We should not have too much fertilizer. Okay, so I probably would not use the soil in this pot. What I'm going to do is I'm going to put a mesh in there. This keeper stopper kind of mesh that can prevent insects from coming in. But what I'm also going to do is to use this two wire to kind of anchor. Probably need to make the tip a little bit sharper. I'm going to use the 2 wire that's wiring around the trunk to anchor the mesh, to anchor the tree and also anchor the mesh. So I'm trying to stuck the thing in. Just trying to stuck the thing through the mesh. It's not easy. Okay. Okay, I'm going to put this through the mesh and put the wire through it. Now this is the front, so we can put it through and use the mesh. If this is about the right height, I'm just going to use the mesh to anchor the tree. Use the wires to anchor the tree. Need several hands. Okay. I would do it like that. Okay. So, this is probably how the tree will be placed in the pot. Probably just cut a little bit of the roots that's a little bit too long, and the rest of it would stay like that. So now the mesh is in there. Okay, I'm going to get some watering thing. I feel the roots is a little bit dry, so I'm going to spray it a little to keep it from drying out. And I'm also trying to put the mesh to the bottom of the put the mesh closer to the bottom of the pot, and now I should be ready to put the soil in. Okay. What I'm going to use is still the same soil, this soil. Just try to hold your breath for a moment. And we can still put plenty of soil in. I wish someone could help me hold the tree, but I only have one people. Okay, so now a lot of the soil on this side is in, a lot of the roots on this side is in the soil. So now I need to deal with this side where we don't have much root. What I'm going to do is to put some sphagnum moss on this side, hopefully to encourage some root to grow. My sphagnum moss is a little bit dry, so I'm going to wet it a little. So these are the sphagnum moss, which is long and fibery, and just wetting them a little bit. And then I'm going to put it against this side of the root and hope to stimulate the growth of root from this side. When people do air layering, they normally use sphagnum moss. So the sphagnum moss is supposed to stimulate root growth. So that's why we put sphagnum moss here. This is, of course, also experience from Peter Chan's video. I'm highly inspired by that. Now I'm trying all these tricks now out and see if we can produce some good trees. I'm not caring too much right now about how high the tree should be in the pot and what precision it should be. The first thing I want to do is to bury the roots and try to make the tree survive. We can slightly change the angle, that's okay. Before we set all the roots in. Okay. That should be okay. Now, if the angle is about correct, I will just set the tree in by poking in the soil. That way, the soil is going to go into the space between the roots. This is just a chopstick. A fancy one though. I bought some soil from Bonsai Jack, and then every time it comes with a chopstick. So I'm pretty happy with that. It's a very fancy chopstick. There are still major movement to the tree, which means the soil are not very well settled yet, especially under the tree. You may see this soil is like more like little rocks than soil, which is correct, because in bonsai they need the roots need a lot of air to grow, so this soil provides a lot of air to the root system while still being able to hold water to some extent. By poking the soil, it's going to sink into the bottom of the bonsai pot. You can see it was relatively full, but when you poke it, because it's sinks into the space between the roots, you actually have a lot less soil. In the beginning, it's going to cover all the roots, but now it's not even covering all the roots. Okay, now I'm just going to add more salt to it. Okay. Maybe a little bit too much, but it's okay. First time we pot the tree up, I want a little bit more soil so that the tree is a little bit safe in there. And I'm just going to continue to poke the soil in. Okay, so the tree is not wiggling too much now, so it's much better settled in the soil. Okay, I think the potting is okay now. We need to figure out the branches a little bit more, since now we have the correct angle. All the branches would be in similar, would drop down in a similar angle. They are up and down. Left and right. There are back branch. To create depth. Let me move this away a little bit. Oh, it's very curious about this pine. There are front branch. I could move this back a little bit. Move this to the front. I'll move this to the front. These branches are just drooping. Right now we don't need them. I hope it's going to back bud in the future, but right now we don't need all these long branches. This is almost like a semi-cascade tree. So, and also, where there are too many branches we would not need, we can cut off. So this would be the proper front. So it's important to look at it from the front and see what we can do. I think we need to get this in a little bit more. This would be too dense here. We can get rid of some of these. Just get rid of some of these branches, these needles. We can see the line better. Okay, that side is okay. Okay, I don't think we need this branch right now, so get rid of this. And then move this slightly this way. Okay. I'm simply snaking all these branches in. Also dropping the branches down, dropping them down. Try to move this in here and get rid of some of the branches that's not needed for now. In the future it may bud back and all, but we don't need it right now. Okay, so here we cannot go this way that much. So I'm going to bend this back branch back a little bit. Maybe to this side. Let's see. This is the front. This is the proper front. This is first branch, second branch. Okay, third branch. I think we don't need that branch to be that long. It's I feel that branch is too long to be very good. However you want to do it, it's not going to be very good. Shorten this branch a little bit. My wire is not holding the function really well. Okay. I think it's not necessary to have that long of a back branch. So I'm going to cut it off here. Back branch is too long, and so this way it's a little bit better, and then it's going to create movement from this branch. Okay, that's in. Okay, that's a little bit too short, but I've done it and it's very difficult to redo. I'm standing back and looking at this whole thing. So I may need to hold this thing in a little bit more. Pull this up and move this way. And the apex should move this way, I think. And maybe having too long of an apex. That's a possibility. It's I need to push this in a little bit more. Okay, it looks like that right now, but I need to get this thing in. I probably cannot keep the whole length of this branch. I'll probably cut it here. And then keep it like that. It's probably going to die back, but it's okay. And further push this in. Okay, let's see. Let's take a look on this and see what can I do. Okay, if I simply clean this place a little bit more, I may be able to see the trunk a little bit better. Not that crowded, it's a little bit too crowded. Cannot see how we will place the top. Just clean this area a little bit more so that I can see what's happening in there. Okay, this would be the front. I'm going to bring it back a little bit more. Bring this back here. And this would form the apex, I think. Would be 3 branches. I'm going to move this and this here, maybe to form the apex. Just try to move them in, and all these needles can be gone so that I can see what's happening. Okay, this is like a back branch. All these could be gone. All of these little tiny needles, we don't need it. Okay. This is looking better and better, but this is probably the proper front. And now I'm going to bring this in further to get something that's more like an apex. we also don't need all these needles. Control the tip a little bit more. And now we can bring this in. So the whole tree would ultimately form something like a conical shape. Which is what pine tree normally do. Of course, this is a special pine tree. The Italian stone pine normally form a umbrella shape, which is not that good. So we are kind of not just recreating nature, but also making a better version of the nature. Okay, need to be slightly out. Okay, I think that's a little bit more out. Okay, that's good. Now I need to move this one this way in some type of back branch to form some type of back branch. Maybe here, like that. And now it's this branch. This branch is probably cut too much off. So it's not going to be able to form a good tip. It's difficult to drop this down because I should make this facing up. Okay. Oh, the reason why this is up is to avoid that way. Okay. Okay, now I need to finish that branch. Okay. I can push that one in a little bit more. Okay, then just drop this a little bit. That one is loosened. Okay. Looks like this right now. Okay, I'm going to move this. It's a little bit high, but it's okay. It's just first styling. You don't have to get everything perfect right now. Need to think about the placement of this branch. We need to snake this in, but how do I place that one? I think I need to put it more towards this. Okay, down a little bit more. That branch. Still a little bit high. Okay, I think this branch could go in a little bit more, but I think I wired it too short. That's why I'm not controlling the tip of the thing. I'm simply going to put in a very thin wire one more time so that I can control the whole tip. And right now I'm not controlling the whole tip. That's why I cannot gain absolute control on that branch. Need the control of the whole tip to Okay, now I can control the whole tip. I'm going to put it in a little bit more. It's this one. Okay, now it's just fine-tuning it. Down. Down. Down a little bit. Down, down. Ah, this one is too much out there, I think. Need to fill this space a little bit better. Okay, now we just need to bend this in a little bit to avoid that breach. Okay. So we are pretty close to where we need to be. Let's bring out a little bit. I think it's this branch is wired too badly. So I probably need to rewire this branch. Just need to be a little bit more patient to wire it a little bit better. Okay, so let's see if I still remember how this was bent. Probably need to move it down a little bit. Move it down. Okay, I think this would look about right. I've only wired the primary branches. I haven't done any detail wiring yet. Just create a overall shape. If we want to be more perfect, we can cut off this branch that's hanging downward. And this branch is kind of a little bit out of character there. What I can do is I can smooth this branch a little bit so that it's not so out of character. Smooth this out a little bit. We need to smooth it out a lot to make it in character with the rest of the branches. I can try, just make it more two-dimensional, but I don't know if that's exactly a good thing or not. Snake it in, get rid of this branch. I think it's good enough. It's good enough. We cannot completely make everything the same. I just don't think it's very good to just make everything the same. Oh, that's okay. In the future, we can create more branches and all. But now, it's just the primary structure is there. I think it's fine. Okay, now the problem is whether this would survive. The next step I would like to do is to water it. So first I would just give it a spray. All over. I can do its rotation, 360 degree rotation. You can see the front is really looking the best right now, because I'm not designing it 360 degree. I don't have the expertise to do that right now, but then I'm going to water it with the watering can. I always think of watering as something that's very enjoyable. going to give it a tray under it. Okay, this looks very nice. I'm just going to water it. I'm going to water it until the water comes out from the bottom. Again, I'm doing very drastic styling here. So if you are doing it on a very valuable tree, you probably should not style it at once. You probably clean the branches at one time and let it grow. I'm just trying to see if water come out from the bottom yet. Nope, no water came out. So just continue to water until the water come out from the bottom. You probably want to clean the branches at one time and then wire it, wait for several months and wire it and wait for several months and then repot it. That's probably the correct thing to do. The thing I'm doing right now, it's because this is a 699 tree and I'm just trying to learn how to do it. I don't want to wait for a year to finish this work, but when someone is more proficient on doing bonsai, they would probably avoid doing this whole thing at once. It's probably too stressful for the tree. Okay, water start to come out from the bottom. I hope you can see. That means it's enough watering. Okay, so this is the tree. I'm just going to give it a after styling view. And trying to put this away, and this is the front. So it looks like that. I'm pretty happy with it right now. Question is whether it would survive, so we need to come back in the spring and look at the tree again and see what happens to it. One thing I don't understand is the tree looks very healthy. Why it would seem to have all those dead roots? Maybe because it's really not used to the outdoor. Although the text said it can be hardy to 15 degrees Fahrenheit. But maybe because it's used to the Fred Meyer temperature, which is the indoor temperature 22 degrees C, and I put it outdoor last night. I don't know if it would kill the roots that fast, but there were some dead roots in there, so which made me a little bit worried whether this can survive. But I'm not going to be too worried right now, and I will just wait and see. At least at this second, the tree looks pretty nice, and I'm pretty happy with it. So this is my celebration for the Christmas, again, I wish you have a happy Christmas and the rest of the holiday seasons. I will see you next time. Bye.